December 23, 2012. Sample Recovery Unit Team Lead Fisher Case reporting on Subject 17, Desmond Miles. The subject was deceased and unattended. Time of death was placed around 00 hours and 7 minutes, with conditions favorable for DNA sample recovery. We had some initial concerns about interference in the vault, but given the skill and talent of this team, we were able to capture useful data. I personally retrieved the subject's backpack and extracted a number of objects of interest to undergo detailed analysis. The subject displayed burns to the right hand, severe enough to fuse the bones, indicating some kind of spontaneous, intense burn trauma. Honestly, we've never seen anything like it before. Head, neck, and torso remained in good condition. I hand-selected recovery agents to retrieve fluid samples, blood and saliva. We then commenced material extraction and were able to preserve several exemplary samples. Data analysis and sequencing is already underway and, I'm told, proceeding with exceptional ease. Thanks to the cloud database and the work of Abstergo Sample Recovery Unit 3, the legacy of Subject 17 will continue uninhibited as Sample 17.
This is on. I don't think I've ever used this phone more than a few times to record anything. Hey, Dad. So, we're all here in New York at the motel. It's Queens, actually, in Astoria, near the NQ. Rebecca's off getting batteries for something. Sean's in his room doing whatever Sean does. And, you're out getting some food. Me? Well, I'm supposed to be getting ready to break into some offices in the financial district. Feels just like prepping for one of your old training drills, actually. 10 years go by, and then you show up, and it's like I was never gone, and we're right back to the ball busting and the conspiracies and the paranoia. Only this time, I believe you. I believe every word. You know, I don't even think you know the half of it. I don't think you know how much I've seen. How much I've learned in just a few weeks. Everything, really. I feel like I've lived 1,000 years, or 10,000 maybe. It's impossible to explain. But when you see that much of the world through the eyes of so many, you can't help but be sad. And to see all these incredible, intelligent people fight the same battles, make the same mistakes over and over again. Because culture and knowledge and history, these things, they aren't passed on through our genes. Every kid on Earth needs to relearn the basics. How to live, how to survive, how to stand up for what's right. So much is lost in the transfer. So much is added every generation. It's a shame. I mean, over and over, everything must be learned again. I met Clay, Dad. Clay Gesmerick, in the Animus. I knew him by his Abstergo handle, Subject 16. My predecessor. And he showed me things. He passed them to me just before he died. Or got deleted or whatever. Everything he'd learned, everything he'd seen. God, how do I talk about this? So, guess you trained him. Huh? After I left, he really looked up to you, and now that I've seen through his eyes, I think I understand why. I'm glad you had him around, even if I wasn't there. showed me. Unbelievable things. And I never... Shit. Alright, I'll back in a second. Okay, it's been a few weeks since the last recording. Sorry about that. Of course, I guess it's just a few seconds for you. I'll leap down the playlist. Anyway, I was talking about Clay. Kasmeric, subject 16. So, when I fell into a coma back in Italy and woke up in the Animus Black Room, it was, so calming. It felt like I had woken up into a dream. Haze. A dream where none of this mess had ever happened. Felt like I should just be getting ready for another day of pouring drinks at bad weather and another day of complaining about being between girlfriends and wondering what the hell to do with myself. But when I saw Clay just sitting there, it started to come back, piece by piece. And when he told me about Lucy, it hurt. Realizing that I killed her without thinking or feeling anything. Not at the time, anyway. Well, then, things just kept piling on. There were more memories of Ezio and Altair and the first civilization. And then, right before he vanished, Clay passed on his memories to me. He showed me everything he had seen and lived through, and it was brief, but overwhelming. Not really sure how to explain. He saw glimpses of Adam and Eve and their escape from slavery. He saw the beginning and the end of the war between the first Civ and humans. He saw Minerva, Juno, and Tinia trying to work out their calculations. At least that's what they called them. They had these tools, these powerful machines that could predict possible futures. Not what was going to happen, but what could happen. Probabilities. And, well, they spent a lot of energy trying to figure out what was the most likely scenario for the future. Theirs and ours. And in the end, I guess they figured I was their most likely candidate. Some guy named Desmond living at the beginning of the 21st century of the Common Era. But which Desmond was the right one? Because, you see, probability is a weird thing. It can branch out in so many ways. Which version of me did they need? Was it the Desmond who got married early and had a son? One who stayed single in New York? Or was it the Desmond who moved to San Francisco to be a waiter? Maybe it was the Desmond who worked at an auto body shop in Chicago, or maybe it was the me who never ran away from his parents in the first place. First Civ had countless variations to choose from, but in the end, the lucky one was me. I'm the Desmond their best calculations spit out. I'm the Desmond they left their messages for, and I guess I have to live with that honor. What an honor. Pretty tired. There'll be more later. Ciao. Hey, Dad. It's funny. I have this memory of you, one I keep coming back to. And I always think about it when I'm working or just before going to bed, because it sort of calms me, I guess. I was 14, I think, and you were trying to teach me how to walk with a light step. Remember that? How to be mindful of how much noise I made when I moved around. Simple stuff. Stuff I understand now, but back then, I gotta tell you, I thought you were just being an asshole. You told me you were gonna go up to your room and sit with your back to the door and read a book. And you wanted wanted me to wait at least 15 minutes and then sneak up there and tap you on the shoulder without you knowing. I even remember the book you were reading at the time, the one by Captain Johnson. And you warned me that if you caught me, we'd have to start all over. Then you went upstairs. And I waited. I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I waited 4 hours before deciding to go up. And even then, it took me 20 minutes to get to the foot of the stairs. And another 30 to get up them. And then 10 to get down the hall. And there I was at the door and peeked into your room. And I was so hoping that you'd be asleep. But no, you were still reading. And I just about shit myself. But 10 minutes later, I was just 5 feet away from you. And that's when I remember setting my foot down, and you flinched. Ever so slightly. You flinched. I thought maybe I'd imagined it, but I knew you'd heard me. You didn't say anything. You just checked your watch, you reached for your drink, you took a sip, and then you kept reading. But I knew I'd failed. You didn't say anything. I didn't understand why. Then I lunged and tapped you on the shoulder, and you turned around, and oh, fantastic, you said, and you scooped me up, and you gave me a big hug, and I didn't say anything. But Dad, I was so pissed off. I wanted to scream at you. I failed, and you knew it, but you said nothing. And I stayed mad for weeks. I thought you were patronizing me. Thought maybe you decided right there that I was never going to be the man you wanted me to be. But I realized just a few years ago that you checking your watch, that was the clue, wasn't it? You let me win because I had been so patient. I guess that impressed you. You know, maybe at that moment you thought it might be better to be my dad instead of my mentor. I don't really know. Maybe for you, they're one and the same. You know, either way, I'm happy to know that both my mentor and my dad are looking out for me that day. I didn't understand that then. I think I do now. So, this will be a short one, Dad. Something to remember me by if things go south. If I don't make it out of the temple today. I've tried to be optimistic about all this, but I just can't. I think spending all this time at Connor's memories has made me anxious. I mean, his story is so painful in so many ways. Still, he never lost hope. Even when his faith in others eroded. I can only believe that what we are doing is the right thing, and that I can stop this disaster. I know this. I mean, the technology is there, waiting for us to use it. I'm the final piece of the puzzle. Something in my genes, or my memories. Some final piece of code to switch the whole thing on. That's why I'm here. That's why they brought me here. Only, I don't know what I'll have to give up in return. My sanity, my life, it's impossible to say. I do know this. Our battle with the Templars will not be over. And whatever's inside that temple is not an ending. It's just another chapter in this endless story. And it'll be your job, and Mom's, and Sean's, and Rebecca's, to keep turning the pages. You know, I keep thinking about something Orson Welles once said. Something like, if you want a happy ending, it all depends on where you stop telling your story. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's how people keep marching forward. If something goes wrong and they're dead, something happens to me. When you tell my story years from now, please tell them the one about how I lost my way, and then I found it again. Just in time to save the world. And just end it there. That'll keep everyone smiling. Goodbye, Dad. Say hello to Mom. Tell her I love her, okay? Tell her I love you both. I love you both.
Our researchers looked into the life of Altair Ibn Lahad, hoping to find a biography that might serve as a positive role model for Abstergo's global outreach programs. Unfortunately, this renegade assassin proved to be no such thing. In much of his footage, we see a man gleefully flouting some of his culture's most entrenched taboos with an arrogance that borders on messianic.
Altair, no! This is not our way! To burn a man's body is forbidden!
Many of our researchers felt that the arguments articulated by Altair's rival, a man known as Abbas, were clearer and more cogent than any we heard from Altair. I've recently put in a request that more effort be dedicated to locating one of Abbas's descendants, if any exist. It's clear to us that Altair's transgressions were the primary motivation behind the ultimate dissolution of his despicable order by the middle of the 13th century. We therefore strongly recommend a pass on this property, in favor of a more agreeable and inspiring figure from this era. Our initial reports gave us hope that Enzio Auditore would serve as an ideal candidate for future Abstergo projects. His charisma, sexual magnetism, and wry humor gave him all the qualities of a leading man. However, his corruption by the assassin order robbed him of these qualities as he fell deeper and deeper into a spiral of revenge. Enzio was frequently known to articulate a passive acceptance of evil. He was also a man of ugly contradictions, one who preached free thought yet traveled well beyond his home country to proselytize his corrupted creed, just as he's doing here with this impressionable Chinese girl. Notice, too, that in his gestures and bearing there is still something of the old lecher in him. Enzio's entire personality is built around pure demagoguery, claiming his philosophy is about love when violence and coercion are his primary means of tackling problems. We have therefore come to the conclusion that Enzio Auditore da Firenze would be a risky character to develop. Initial reports on Aveline de Grand Prix led us to believe she would be too controversial and impulsive to appeal to a wide audience. Teenage memories show her brainwashed and trained to kill political foes of her highly unstable mentor, Agate. Additionally, Aveline spent a disappointing amount of time in the Louisiana Bayou, consorting with smugglers of the lowest kind.
Oh, I try never to think.
Which we felt risked her appeal to our female audience, which is now approaching 50%. However, as Aveline matured, a new side emerged. A well-mannered and considerate lady of poise and compassion. Aveline came to embrace a new mentor, her stepmother, Madeline Delisle, a tireless fighter for the rights of slaves.
Thank you, Madeleine.
With some editing to prioritize this relationship, we feel Aveline's story will more than meet our needs. Our team recommends a go on this property. Get this one to market quickly. Our initial research into the life of Ratana Gaydon focused on a period spanning his late teens to his early 30s. But our researchers came away unimpressed by his calm and stoic demeanor, with occasional flashes of extreme anger. This was not the sort of leading man we felt comfortable endorsing. We decided, therefore, to delve into his early childhood, with the hope that scenes of pre-colonial America might hold some appeal. As you can see here, there is a certain naive charm and innocence to this young boy. Unfortunately, our researchers found this young man's story deeply problematic as well. For one, the omnipresence of the Mohawk culture lacks the balance necessary to tell the true story of America. And secondly, the Mohawk language would certainly be an issue for most of our audience. We therefore feel that although Ratana Tankon's early life would be of some interest to our more educated viewers, it's unlikely that his story would appeal on a broader scale, being too foreign, as it were, to normal audiences. Our team recommends we pass on this property.